month's RATER. It is one of our good assignments, and I'm very disappointed to hear that our class was cancelled the other day due to the haze condition. But no worries, we're gonna proceed to our presentation through this video. Alright, so for this, we have for this assignment we do have 6 members. Firstly, it will be me, James, and my fellow member, Cyrus Wong, Mo Ian, which is Marsha, and Huey On, which is Nathan, Jamie, and Brian. Alright, next. Alright, so for our introduction, so we chose 3 Little Pigs and a Big Bad Wolf. Why? It's because it was highly recommended by Nathan's friend, high school's friend, as they were studying there nearby during their high school years. So we actually decided to choose 3 Little Pigs and a Big Bad Wolf. As most of us also sort of huge fans of eating pork dishes, so we actually agreed to go to this restaurant instead of a normal cafe. Yes. Alright, so we visited on 10th of October 2015, and the restaurant itself is located at Tropicana City Mall, and for your information, there's actually another branch at Bangsa Village, and actually total there are only 2 branches. And then after that, recently, according to our research, the company itself did open another franchise which is called Pigs and Wolf. As they think that the name 3 Little Pigs and the Big Bad Wolf is sort of a long name. So yeah. And for this restaurant, it serves mainly the pork dishes, like signature pork burger, like the Hawaiian Gula Burger, the Piggy Mighty, and the pork fried rice, the pork salad, and so on. Next, please. Alright, so before we research, how do we do our research is we have 6 members, so a few of us will do research through Facebook, the Twitter, the Instagrams, like through our phones, through our laptops, like to check their latest trend, their latest food menu, such as like how people comment about their food. So first of all, we actually they did comment a few, not to say bad comment, but sort of a bad comment as for the waiting time. It was commented that one of the branch, I'm not so sure either it's at the Bangsa or at the Tropicana. It seems that the food delivery was a bit short, maybe due to the slow cooking time or the service time. Or, yeah. And then other than that, we do research until that the food sometimes tend to get very cold. Mainly because of the aircon, the rest of the ambience too cold and isolated or what. And then that's why the food temperature tend to become cold and customers usually don't like. So therefore, all these facilities, all these food and drink delivery time, we actually added them into our expectation. So after that, we will then visit the restaurant itself to see what we're gonna experience when we go there. Alright. So and then after that, after all the research, we did a list of expectation according to the raters, which is rater stands for the R is the reliability, the assurance, the tangible, the empathy, and the responsiveness. Alright, so yes, then after that, let's move on to reliability. This is my friends. Cyrus will continue the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, James. And I'll be moving on to the first R in the raters, performance raters. So R it means reliability, which it means the ability for the service provider to actually provide what is promised, both dependably and accurately. Like for example, the greetings, and also for example, also the service skills, just like the knowledge of the menu. Moving on, we will be coming to our expectations that we had before we go to the restaurant. First of all, the expectations that we had was the greetings. Did they greet us? Did they smile at us? And did we feel welcome? And also the service skills, whether they actually share to us the content of the menu and whether they explain the menu properly. And also next would be the staff posture, whether they stood up straight or did they slouch, no, or their uniform also, if it's neatly pressed, or is it dirty, or is it clean. And lastly was the security, whether they take care of our belongings when we are out. Next would be our perceived outcomes that we have experienced from what we expected. First of all, when we entered the restaurant, they greeted us with a warm smile, which was very good actually. But as expected of all restaurants, they should do that. And also next, their uniforms were neatly pressed and it was clean, and there were no stains on it as well as no wrinkles. Thirdly, they explained the menu on point very properly, and also they actually explain each and every part of the menu, whether or not there's a promotion going on, or for example, when we were there were a daytime and nighttime menu which changes at 6 p.m. So they also told us that since it was 5:30, the next menu will come out at 6 o'clock. So if we wanted to wait for the next menu, because it will be a dinner time menu, so that was quite good actually. And also for security, they actually took care of our belongings when James and I we were going out from the restaurant to the washroom, and there were no one else there yet. So our belongings were still on the bench, on the seats, and we went out for about half an hour, and we came back, and our belongings were still there. No one scuffled through it, and no one actually moved our belongings somewhere else. So that's all from me for reliability. Thank you.
Okay, the second parasuraman rater is assurance. So what is assurance? Assurance is basically the knowledge and skills of the staff to inspire trust and confidence. Here are some of the examples of assurance: food quality by the kitchen crew, skilled service crew, waiting time, and etc. Next slide, please. Okay, here are some of the expectations, such as waiting time. So what do we expect? Okay, do they let us wait for such a long waiting time? Do they take a long time for ordering plating? And the second one is kitchen crew. Kitchen crew will be food quality and description of the food we ordered. The third one is service crew. Remember our order. Do they remember our order? And do they make any sounds when they put the plates down on the table? Last but not least is knowledge of the menu. How well do they know about the menu? So this was actually quite prompt, and the waitress actually remember what we ordered. However, there was only one mix up, and she did immediately apologize on the spot. We were okay with the matter because we're actually students, right? And it wasn't really part of our expectation. So it wasn't really part of our expectation, as we expected only service to be simple and food to be served fast. And unfortunately, the waiter did actually shake his hands while he was placing our dish down on the table. Maybe because the plate was hot and heavy. Yeah. Last but not least is the knowledge of the menu. Okay, while we were looking through the menu, right, we did not have any surplus money to spend, so we actually asked for recommendations from the waiter. And the waiter actually recommended us a dinner set menu which consists of main course and either a drink or a dessert. And after that, he also suggested us to take desserts, as there was a promotion that comes along with dinner set menu that will actually save us quite a lot of money, and we can actually have all 3 courses, which is main course, desserts, and
The next aspect will be tangible. Tangible is defined as a physical evidence of the service that service provider gives. And for example, tangible items are like the cleanliness, the facilities in the restaurant, and either also the ambience. So as expectations, we will expect to enter a restaurant which is clean, and besides, the tables and chairs has to be not dusty. And other than that, the plates, the glassware and cutlery has to be, there will be no fingerprints on it. And other than that, we will also want a pretty good ambience, which have a perfect lighting and also like a coziness for us to dine in comfortably. And the third expectation would be plating. The temperature of the food is mainly the most important one. And besides, other than that, the plates by the rim, there will be no fingerprints. And there's like a little bit of garnish on top of each food to make it more presentable and more appetizing. And lastly, it would be the menu. The menu should be able to be readable, as in the fonts at the side should be big enough for old people or elderly to read, and the description should be well described in order for customers enable them to know what's the food about. So here's our perceived outcomes. There were no stains and marks on the plates or on the cutleries. The cutleries and plates were well polished by the staff in the restaurant. And as you can see, when we were dining there, the tables and the photo frames were not dusty. Well, it was like minimal dust only. And as for the lightings are good but a bit sharp. But sometimes when we're there, it's a bit pretty much glaring for us when we're eating. By 6 o'clock when we were dining there, they pretty much dimmed down the lights to suit the environment, as it was already like at night, so that it will create like a comfy and coziness for us to dine in the restaurant. And other than that, when the food arrived, the platings of the dish were perfectly fine. And when the food came, we touched on the plate to see if it was in the right temperature or not. As in, like, when the food comes, the plate should be hot. And then the lightings were pretty much dim, so that we couldn't actually see any fingerprints on the plate. But that should be fine. Besides, the garnishing on the food were generous, as they were like putting quite a few, as in like we ordered pastas, and then they were like pretty much like a lot of cheese on top of it. So they were pretty much generous with their garnish to beautify the plate and to beautify the dish on its own self. As for the last outcome, would be the menu. The menu cover was well described for us to understand, but unfortunately, some of the words were pretty much too small for us to read. As in, for us it was okay, but pretty much for like if it's for elderly or older people, they might not be able to read what's on the page.
Thank you, Jamie. So next we'll move on to empathy. It's defined as a service provider putting themselves in the customer's shoes to know how we feel. And examples of empathy are knowing their food preference, how much we care for them, and how considerate are towards the customers. Expectations for us for food preference, some of us are allergic to certain kind of products, certain kind of ingredients, and some cannot take spicy. And is there any substitution offered? And for caring, do they ask how the food is being served? And reminding to call if there's any help, if there's any problem. And how do they address you, like sir, ma'am, formal or informal? Communication skills, are they fluent in English, Mandarin, or Bahasa? Next slide, please. And for the perceived outcomes, we managed to change a spicy dish for James into a non-spicy dish. And for the burger that I ordered, there's cheese slice inside. So and I'm allergic to cheese, so we got to substitute it with pineapple ring. And the waiter brought us 6 cups of water with an extra jar, and he offered to fill it up for us. And he constantly reminded us to call for help if we needed any. And they always addressed us by sir and madam every time they called us. And he's very respectful and is good for them and us. And they are very fluent in the English, and he managed to repeat the order in a stable tone. That's all for it. Thank you.
The next topic, which is responsiveness. Responsiveness is defined as the ability to provide prompt service and also to be helpful towards customers. Customers will usually expect to be satisfied by the actions taken by the staff. So staff need to be more positive and also to have the can do and will do attitude to actually satisfy the customer. The examples of responsiveness that we expected are staff attentiveness, how observant the staff are and how helpful the staff will be. For expectations, under food and delivery, we actually expected how fast will the service be and whether the food and drink will be delivered on time. And then for prompt service, we expected if they will entertain us and explain to us about the food or the cake, and whether are they happy to serve us or would they complain when they serve us later on. For observant staff, we would expect them to actually take our order without us asking them, and we also expect them to clear our plates when we are done. For attentiveness, we actually expect them to pay close attention to us, so there will not be any miscommunication when they are taking our order. For perceived outcomes, under food and drink delivery, we actually waited quite a while because when the food was ready, the staff didn't, they actually ignored it. They didn't come and serve us the food. So we had to wait quite a while, and then after the waiter took our order, they all didn't tell us how long it will take, which is really bad now. For prompt service, under cake explanation, one of my colleague James he was actually bored, so he went and took a walk, and then he went to the cake section, and surprisingly one of the waiter actually came over to explain to him about the cake, what is their best selling cake and the cake of the day. And then she also actually offered some sparkling water and explained to us about and explained to James about it. She said he could clean his palate after eating the food. And after that, when James left, the waiter didn't complain. She actually just smiled and continued on with her own work. For observant staff, we realized that the waiter actually came and served us immediately when we stepped into the moment we stepped into the restaurant, and then they took our order as well. And then when Jamie was eating, she actually dropped her fork. So one of the waiter was really observant, so he came and brought a new fork to replace the other one. And when we were done eating and we were chit-chatting, the waiter actually came and offered to clean the plates. For attentiveness, the waiter was really attentive because they didn't take the wrong order. It was all smooth. So serve the customer properly and ensure they are satisfied, you have to be attentive. That's all for.
Thank you guys for the presentation about the Parasuraman's waiter. Alright, next move on to the identification of shortfalls and solution. Alright, so for this one, through our visit, through the RATER itself, the file RATER, we actually identify under the tangible for the glassware, because as we were dining, when we started dining in the restaurant, we realized that there are few fingerprints on the glasses. It's got a clean glass, as they brought the glasses to us. Through our knowledge, we think that it might not be well polished. Maybe not to say the servers tend to be lazy, but maybe because sometimes during peak season, you never know where's the peak season, holidays and all. When they clean all the glassware and the plates, they tend not to say lazy, but sort of lazy after the work. So they tend to be a bit lazy to polish all the glasses so well. So eventually they might leave some fingerprints from anyone. Yeah. And then after that, also because the most important part, which is the cleaning part. But this can't be blamed as during the peak season, we understand that they have to accommodate a lot of people, they're going to use a lot of glassware, the cutleries and all, so sometimes they didn't really polish them well. Alright? Yeah, so move on to the next point will be the hygiene. The most priority is to any F&B outlets or like restaurants or cafes, the hygiene is really the most priority to us, is the most priority thing to be considered as it gives the image and appearance of the restaurant. For example, when you visit a restaurant, you see that the plates, the cutleries and all not so, not so clean, not so polished well. Eventually, the customer when they come in, they will have the thought saying, oh, this restaurant is so dirty and they wouldn't want to come back again. So when they also don't feel like leaving the restaurant, but they eventually will just eat it with uncomfortable feelings. Yes. Alright. And one more, before I move on to the conclusion, we actually identify another thing, which is the responsiveness, which is the food and delivery time by the server. Alright, so as we did include in this slides. So for the responsiveness is about how did the waiter deliver how long did the waiter deliver the food. It wasn't the kitchen's fault. Kitchen did a good job producing the dishes on time, but eventually during our dining experience, we actually noticed that some of the waiters were intentionally ignoring the food that are being put at the collection counter. So we were thinking, was it our food or our order? Then yeah, we didn't think much as we were chit-chatting. Then of course, after that, when the supervisor came, approached and asked asked the waiter, why is the food not delivery? So they eventually explained and say, or they just accidentally ignore something. So eventually they just sent our food delivery, which it didn't reach our expectation as we wanted our food to be delivered, food and drinks delivered within 10 minutes. Yeah, so it didn't happen. Alright, for the solution, of course, this one more training should be given to the waiters so that they could be more attentive and to be more attentive and to be more responsive to all the things happening around the restaurant itself, such as like food ready at the counter, the water need to be refilled, the pantry need to be clean, the table and chair need to be clean as well. Yeah. So all this training should be given like around 1 or twice a month, yeah, or 1 or twice in 2-3 months. Yeah. Alright, lastly for our conclusion, we can conclude that from our raters, RATER, all the expectation and all the outcomes, mostly our dining experience equation are P equal to E. As a student, we only aim for value for money and not beyond that. But of course, we might sometimes expect a little bit more as it actually considered as middle upscale restaurants. So yes. So not only P equals to E, we do encounter some P more than E, such as the waiter was able to explain the menu well. Not only the description of the food or the drinks, but as well as providing alternate options such as the daytime menu and the nighttime menu. Because we were like there at 5:30, so they told us that there will be a nighttime menu at 6. So they actually eventually suggested us to wait until 6. Yeah, for the nighttime menu as it was dinner time. And move on. Last but not least, we also encountered P less than the E, which is the food delivery time, which I have mentioned. As there were it wasn't the kitchen's fault, but it was the service crew's fault. Yes, but it couldn't be blamed as well. And for all the F&B industry, it's almost impossible to have all these guest shortfalls, but they could determine the restaurant that can satisfy all the customers' needs and wants.